In the shadowy corners of rock and roll history, there stood a guitar god whose standards were as towering as his amplifier stacks. Jimmy Page. The mystical mastermind behind Led Zeppelin's thunderous sound wasn't just a revolutionary guitarist who transformed blues into heavy metal magic. He was also a man known for holding grudges against fellow musicians.
He did a version of Stairway that had a choir and an orchestra, and then after the guitar, well, it was with the...
Welcome to another episode of Music Rivalry Exposed, where today we dive into the darker side of Jimmy Page and the 6 guitarists who reportedly earned his legendary disdain. The London-born architect of classics like Whole Lotta Love and Black Dog had a perfectionist streak that often clashed with other guitar heroes. There are guitarists who play, and there are guitarists who understand. Page allegedly told a music journalist in 1975. Most fall into the first category, unfortunately.
Learning a lot. I was fascinated by, as much as playing guitar, as how things were recorded, and I learned a lot.
From alleged studio walkouts to whispered put-downs in the industry, Page's complicated relationships with these 6 guitarists reveal more than personal tension. They expose deeper conflicts about technique, integrity, and what truly defines rock credibility. Some feuds were public, others private, but all of them shaped the competitive landscape of rock guitar. So crank up your Marshall stacks, because here are the 6 guitarists who reportedly made Jimmy Page's blood boil. 6. Richie Blackmore. Kicking off our list is Richie Blackmore, the theatrical Deep Purple and Rainbow guitarist with a taste for medieval flair. Despite their shared role as hard rock pioneers, Page allegedly harbored a bitter resentment toward him. According to rock journalist Jeff Barton, Page once told session players at Olympic Studios, "Blackmore thinks every song needs a bloody sword fight. The man confuses volume with passion." Page's issue wasn't just with Blackmore's playing, but with his showmanship.
It is strange how we all come from the similar area. And like I said, with Jimmy Page, he was in the same.
While Page crafted mystical atmospheres and dynamic song structures, he reportedly dismissed Blackmore's theatricality as Renaissance fair nonsense. In 1975, Page allegedly told a German magazine, "There are guitarists who serve the song and guitarists who make the song serve them." Insiders believed this was aimed at Blackmore. At one 1974 London studio session, Page reportedly walked out when Blackmore arrived, muttering to his roadie, "I don't have time for costume parties." Ironically, Blackmore himself often praised Led Zeppelin's musicianship, seemingly unaware of the hostility. To Page, however, Blackmore embodied everything he disliked: spectacle over substance, theater over authenticity. 5. Eddie Van Halen. Landing at number 5 is a feud that shook the guitar world. Eddie Van Halen, the Dutch-American virtuoso, redefined rock guitar in the late 1970s with his finger-tapping technique. But not everyone was impressed, least of all Jimmy Page. After Van Halen's explosive debut in 1978, Page reportedly told colleagues at a London pub, "Anyone can learn parlor tricks. Real guitar playing comes from the heart, not from showing off like a circus act." The comment quickly reached Eddie, and it stung. For Page, the problem wasn't only Eddie's innovation, it was what it represented. Page had built his reputation on blues soul and mystical atmosphere, while Van Halen's technical wizardry symbolized a new era of flashy, athletic guitar playing. There's a difference between playing guitar and playing with a guitar, Page reportedly told a backstage interviewer in 1979, and most assumed he was referring to Eddie. Things escalated in 1980 when, during a Los Angeles studio session, Page abruptly ended a conversation after someone mentioned Eddie's eruption. He allegedly snapped, "I've heard enough about bedroom noodling for one lifetime." Eddie, for his part, always spoke highly of Page, calling him a master in interviews. But Page seemed to have dismissed Van Halen as the start of a future he didn't want to embrace. 4. Yngwie Malmsteen. At number 4 is the flamboyant Swedish shredder Yngwie Malmsteen, whose neoclassical style and massive ego reportedly infuriated Page. The animosity began in the mid-1980s when Malmsteen burst onto the scene, declaring himself the greatest guitarist alive. According to journalist Malcolm Dome, Page told friends at a charity event, "This Swedish peacock thinks Bach wrote power chords. He's confused technique with music itself." For Page, the issue wasn't just Yngwie's technical brilliance, but his dismissal of blues-based tradition. While Page valued feel and dynamic songwriting, Malmsteen was celebrated for what Page reportedly called classical classical music rape, complex but soulless shredding. Some people think more notes equals more music, Page allegedly told a Swedish journalist in 1987. They're usually the same people who think louder equals better. The feud climaxed at a 1988 Guitar Expo when Page walked out of Malmsteen's set, allegedly telling security, "I don't need to watch someone practice scales for 20 minutes." Malmsteen later dismissed Page's entire catalog as primitive blues noodling, cementing their mutual dislike. 3. Keith Richards. Sliding into number 3 is Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, a rivalry that reportedly spanned decades. Both men rose in the 1960s British rock boom, but their philosophies clashed. According to journalist Robert Greenfield, Page once told engineers, Keith thinks 5 chords make him Chuck Berry. The man wouldn't recognize a melody if it bit him on the ass. The cutting remark quickly circulated through London's tight-knit scene. Page viewed Richards' stripped-down style as 3-chord primitivism, mistaking simplicity for depth. Anyone can bash out satisfaction, Page allegedly told NME in 1973. Real musicianship requires more than stumbling through the same riff for 50 years. The feud boiled over in 1975 at Madison Square Garden when Richards reportedly ignored Page's outstretched hand, muttering, "I don't shake hands with thieves," referencing Zeppelin's alleged plagiarism of blues standards. Richards later dismissed Page's work as overproduced wankery. Their rivalry became a symbolic war, raw authenticity versus elaborate artistry. 2. Jimi Hendrix. At number 2 is perhaps the most shocking feud, Jimi Hendrix. Despite Hendrix's tragic death in 1970, insiders say Page felt overshadowed by him from the very start. The rivalry began in 1967 when Hendrix exploded onto the London scene, instantly eclipsing Page's Yardbirds and session work. Historian Charles Shar Murray claims Page complained, "This American comes over here and suddenly everyone forgets who was playing guitar before. It's all flash and feedback. Where's the musicianship?" Page reportedly viewed Hendrix's stage destruction and feedback experiments as controlled chaos, and once said, "Some people think breaking guitars makes you a genius. Real musicians don't need pyrotechnics." Industry insiders claim Page grew paranoid, believing Hendrix was deliberately upstaging him. Even after Hendrix's death, Page allegedly dismissed his legacy in private as overrated theater. The jealousy and insecurity, it seems, never left him. 1. Eric Clapton. Taking the top spot is Eric Clapton, once worshipped as God by fans. To Jimmy Page, however, Clapton represented betrayal, rivalry, and shameless credit stealing. Their feud reportedly began in the 1960s London blues scene, where both fought for session gigs. Journalist Chris Welch recalls Page saying, "Eric plays the same 3 blues licks and everyone calls him a god. I suppose mediocrity sells better than innovation." Things escalated when Clapton recruited drummer Jim Gordon, who had been working with Page. Page allegedly fumed, "Eric builds his career on other people's talent because he doesn't have enough of his own." In the 1970s, as both reached superstardom, Page became obsessed with proving his superiority, allegedly saying at a party, "The difference between Eric and me is that I create music. He just copies it louder." The feud lingered for decades, with Clapton subtly dismissing Zeppelin's heaviness as derivative while praising blues purists. Page retaliated by calling him a blues museum curator who's never had an original idea in his life. This wasn't just rivalry, it was open warfare disguised as artistic disagreement. And there you have it, 6 guitarists who reportedly made Jimmy Page see red. Which rivalry shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more rock rivalries that will blow your mind.